We've got two fantastic guests lined up tonight for our FA Cup preview. First of all, we've got Gareth. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm great, thank you. You've not called me fantastic before, so I'll take that. Cheers.
There's a first. And also we're joined by Hannah. Hannah, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks so much for having me on. I'm super excited.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Yeah, I'm not too bad, thanks. Good evening to Robert. He's actually on time this week after grilling us previous weeks.
There he is.
So tonight's show, obviously, as we mentioned, is the Leicester FA Cup preview, and that's the women's fifth round this Sunday at Leeds Sports Village. It's a 12 noon kickoff as well, UK time. But before we jump into that, Hannah, I want to sort of get you to talk about your YouTube channel, because you do Leicester City Women Beyond the 90, don't you? So do you want to sort of give viewers a little bit of insight into sort of yourself and that then?
Yeah, so we just do a podcast basically similar to what you guys do. We do post-match reaction stuff. We get as many fans from opposition as well as our own onto the show. And we interview players. We've talked to Jonathan Morgan. We've talked to Ashley Plumpter. We talked to Shannon O'Brien. We've got a few more lined up that I can't talk about. But yeah, we just do a bunch of stuff. And we're always looking for people to hop on board if anyone ever wants to come on. You guys are going to have to come on after the game.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah. So yeah, that's basically what we do.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's great because obviously we always talk about on this channel about it being not just, United based, but obviously involving everyone. And similar to yourselves, obviously it's great to see. I know personally, I think Gareth, you have as well. We've seen obviously your shows. And yeah, this is why I sort of reached out to Joe and said, if there's anybody that wants to come on, by all means, let's do it. So it's great that, we can all sort of get together. It doesn't matter who you support. And I think John's coming on here. Thank you for joining us. So John runs the YouTube channels and sort of, he's the main go-to person. He's involved in the planning with me. So thanks for tuning in, John.
Thanks for having me, John.
Straight into it. On the 11-1. So the last time we met, obviously, was Conti Cup in 2019. Gareth, I'll let you open up with this because I know you mentioned about sort of the team and it differing to, this time around. So do you want to sort of open up with that and we'll review that and then sort of go around?
Yeah, sure. I've just realised my hair is an absolute disgrace, so I'm going to stick a hat on.
All right, your jacket's getting ripped as well.
Yeah, well, here we go.
I have a jacket just like that. I'm glad I didn't wear it today.
I don't know where this whole jacket thing has come from. There's nothing wrong with it. If you look at the squads that started that 11-1, they're completely different. Like I've got it open now, and if the players that started when we went to the King Power, there's literally not a single one of the 11 that started. You've got Demi Lambourne, who was on the bench, Lashante Paul, who was on the bench, and Leah and Freya were on the bench on Sunday as well. But apart from that, it's a completely different starting 11. So I don't think we're going to be able to kind of look at that game and read anything into it. Just because, even since we started going to Leicester last January, the squad is so different. I think we looked and said there was 3 players that were playing against Burnley that played against Charlton the other week, and 2 of them were brand new signings then anyway. So, it's a squad that's evolved a lot since then. It is a lot better. There are a lot of attacking threats, but United have got better as well. So it's definitely going to be an interesting game, but certainly not 11-1.
Yeah, absolutely. And Hannah, I just want to sort of get your thoughts, not so much on the game, but sort of how things have changed for Leicester since then. So obviously that, like I said, was back in November 2019. Obviously last season Leicester finished 6th on the points per game, and then in August became full time. So do you just want to talk us through then how it's been sort of, like I say, the change from the 11-1 defeat pretty much to winning the league?
Well, I think it's been a huge change, like even within just this season alone. Like looking back at 2020 a bit and to now, it's just so much has changed. We've seen the club invest into the women's side. They've joined Leicester City. They've joined King Power, and they've been given Beaver Drive, this Premier League standard facility. And they have amazing staff there who have been there the entire journey. So I think that has a lot to do with the development, but it's also the support has grown so much. And there's so many people who are fully invested into it now. Like, look at Leicester, look at how good they're playing and stuff. So I definitely think that has a huge part, but of course fans can be around, so it's a bit difficult. But like you guys said, like new players coming in. We of course have veterans like Remy Allen, who's had time in the WSL with us, a Leicester own, and it's just, yeah, it's crazy how much they've changed, because we saw Jonathan talking about how they used to be in car parks and use tin sheds to change. Like, that's crazy. Now they're at Beaver Drive. So it's definitely going to differ from the 11-1. I promise that. I hope so.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm jinxing it, but I don't see that happening.
No, to be fair, neither do we. And we have been saying this, myself and Gareth, since that draw came out. We've got a lot of stick from people. But no, we did say I think it'll be a lot closer. And, like you said, I think credit to sort of Leicester, for investing, like you mentioned, obviously Beaver Drive, in the facilities. I think, and I'm going to put my neck on the line here, I think I'd go as far as say that's probably going to be the best training facility, maybe apart from Man City's. Mm-hmm. It's definitely in the top 2 for me in the WSL next year. So, like you say, fantastic. And to think that, like you say, they were struggling a few years ago to even get sort of a squad together, to go from sort of 13 players now to a squad of like 24, 25 is obviously a credit to Jonathan and, the club itself. So, yeah, I think very different team, obviously, that, is out there, as Gareth said, from the 11-1 win. And obviously, I think Sunday as well is going to be a lot closer than people think. Going to sort of go into then, Gareth, I'll start with you first. Your thoughts going into this game from United perspective?
I think we're going in a good position. We've come in. This is annoying me now. We've come in off the back of some good wins. A strong win against a good Everton side. We didn't play our best, but still managed to score twice. So that's good. We're coming in strong. I think if we were playing this game a month ago, we'd be coming in and there'd be, I think, a lot more potential to slip up. But now I think, we're coming in, we're in form. We've seemed to have gotten over that dip that we suffered post-Christmas that lasted 3 months. But over the last sort of month or so, we've started to get back on track. And I think battering Burnley has kind of been the kick into gear that we needed. We know Tooney loves a goal against Leicester. So, I think on cue, I think she'll probably score again. Always back to score at the moment. But yeah, I think we're strong enough and in form enough and confident enough that we'll come through and get the win. But yeah, there's still that banana skin potential, I think.
Yeah, I'm going to quickly touch on Natalie's comment. How many is Tooney going to get? I think I did say 3 and a 3-1 win, but we'll move it on to predictions later on. Hannah, then, obviously your thoughts then going into this game. Obviously you've had, a terrific season, not lost many games at all this year. Confidence is probably going to be sky high, but what would you say, obviously, because this is cup and it's a little bit different, isn't it, against sort of better opposition? No disrespect to them in the championship, but it's a little bit sort of higher up, isn't it now? So what's sort of your thoughts going into this then?
Yeah, I like how you say that we're going in with confidence, but Leicester fans, we have no confidence like ever as Leicester fans. I do have confidence in our women's teams, but I feel like with the men's team, we just like both sides were always like, hey, don't want to say too much because we never know what'll happen. And speaking of confidence, you guys clearly have really confident fans. I've seen the comments. I'm like, whoa, okay, they're coming at us. They're coming in hot. I respect that, but I'm going to poke at you a bit. So for us Leicester fans looking at this game, for me specifically, I'm thinking of the Conti Cup when you were knocked out by Liverpool, of course. And Liverpool is the one side. When we spoke with Remy Allen, we spoke with Ashley Plumter, they both shared that Liverpool is that team that they are always like, okay, this is the side that we have to beat. Like, it wasn't even Durham, it was Liverpool. So thinking about that, it's like, hey, if we've beaten Liverpool the 3 times that we beat them this season and they knocked you guys out not too long ago,
yeah,
I have a bit of faith. But I'm also going to consider last season's FA Cup when we faced Man City and everyone was expecting us to lose like at least 5-0. Then we only lost 2-1. So I think that we've definitely stepped up from the 11-1, obviously. And yeah, even though we're used to being in the championship, we did play Bristol City. We got knocked out to them 1-0 in like the very last minute in the Conti Cup. So I don't think you can't like doubt us at all. And I think a lot of people just are expecting us to kind of fly under the radar a bit, which we are, but I don't think it's going to be as easy as some of your hoping for.
No, absolutely. I agree. It's trying to convince other fans. Obviously, like you say, you touched on the Liverpool thing there. But I think for us as well, because it's been, like Gareth said, sort of downhill, so to speak, since January. It's kind of, I think the team that turns up on the day and sort of, doesn't underestimate, if we don't underestimate yourselves, then I think, we should get the job done. I say that carefully, but, it's like you touched on, I think, you said there about you played Bristol City. And for me, I saw that game and I thought there was enough chances, for you guys to win. And again, Man City, another game that I was fortunate to get to. And let's not forget as well, that wasn't obviously, your strongest side because of obviously the restrictions they put on from last year where you could only field so many players. So again, it just shows that, you have been there and you can compete. And again, I think back to the Reading FA Cup game that went to extra time. And again, you won that game. And that was with last season's squad. So obviously new additions in the summer. And it's looking like a completely different game from that 11-1. So obviously it's something that we're going to have to be wary of as a team. Definitely, it's going to be one of those. I think Vic said it further up, something about we have to respect Leicester and sort of what they're going to bring to the table and obviously be on our guard. I mean, our defence has been vulnerable this year, especially from set pieces. I think we conceded the most in the league. So hopefully Jono's not tuning into this, otherwise I'm giving away all our secrets. But
I don't want to say too much because I'm scared of the fans of the comments. I'm not going to lie. They are holding back.
Don't be scared. Literally, they say it out. John says talk transfers. John, you're skipping my agenda. I've got a set theme here, pal. Transfers is later on. No, honestly, the comments will be fine. It's just...
well, they seem nice. That's what I'm scared of. They seem so nice that I don't want to upset them.
Wait until after the game. They'll all be... No, I'm
it's fine. You can upset
I'm going to stick with you, Hannah. I'm sort of going to touch on the starting 11. Obviously, it is FA Cup. So do you see, Jonathan, sticking with your strongest 11, or do you think maybe there might be like a few changes, a lot of changes, or where do you think they're going to sort of go for Sunday's starting 11?
I definitely think that we'll stick with our usual starting 11 because, sorry, did you guys lose me for a second there?
No, still got you, I think.
Oh, okay. You guys were both frozen, so I wasn't sure if I was gone. I think we'll stick with the usual starting 11 because they've showed that they're strong, and we also have so much depth. So either way, I'm never really too worried. Of course, the only major thing is like we still don't have Paige Bailey-Gale, which is a bit of a blow, but they've clearly shown that even without her, LaShante Paul is amazing, and we've got Shannon O'Brien up there too, who's been phenomenal since signing her. So I think that we'll go with that usual starting 11, and I think that I'm not going to speak on behalf of Jonathan, obviously, but I think with how we see Leicester now is they've just won the championship. Imagine how far they can get in the FA Cup. Like they made it fairly far last time around. They made it far enough in the Conti Cup. I think Leicester just wanting to win things, and they're making statements. And I think that moving forward would be a huge statement. But honestly, if we make it past you guys, I'll just be happy about that.
Gareth, then, from a United perspective, do you think Casey's going to go pretty much as strong as we can, or do you see maybe one or two changes? I mean, obviously, I'm assuming Alessia isn't coming back based on her Instagram post about thanks for this season and she's looking forward to next year. But in terms of injuries, I don't think there's too many coming back apart from obviously Leah, who came on again on Sunday.
Yeah, I think it's a difficult one, isn't it? Do you start Leah from the off? Is she fit enough to play 90 minutes or so, or how long do you give her? That's the balancing act I think that Casey's going to have. I think I don't think we'll see as much rotation as we usually would if in this situation, given that there's nothing to rest for afterwards. So I think we'll see the normal Mary in goal, Ona, Amy, Millie, probably Kirsty. I think just adds a bit more attacking than Martha does as a back four. I think the question then comes as to what midfield pairing you go with. Do you go with Zellum, Groningen, Tooney, or do you stick Stanley in there as well just to make it a little bit more defensive? I think if there's going to be any rotation, that will be where it is. I think I'd like to see Jess start up top instead of Jane, probably. And then, I think I'd go with Leah and give us sort of 60 minutes or so to make an impact, and then Hansen on the other side.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me as well, similar to what we talked about before, and obviously referring to Vic's comment again, I think we need to go full strength. I think the way the season has ended, in case he's talked about it being a failure because we've messed up the Champions League, I think for me now the Cup's pretty much going to be the saving grace of our season. Obviously it continues next year, doesn't it? But I think for me, having come fourth and having got knocked out of the Conti Cup early in a group that I feel we should have at least qualified second, and we didn't, sort of speaks a lot, doesn't it, for the season? I think, the FA Cup now is the last chance. And I talked about in previous sort of shows about, next year now we need to win something, whether it's the Conti Cup or whether it's the FA Cup left over from this year or next season's FA Cup. I think the pressure will be on now in sort of the fourth year to be like, right, well, we won the Championship in season 1. Season 2 obviously got postponed. Season 3 was, sort of finding out a bit more about the league, and obviously we completed a full season. And then obviously next year, I think we need to be looking ahead. Natalie's saying December, Wembley. Natalie's jumping the gun already. She's got the bus trip planned in typical fashion. John, the 5th of December. That was announced before, I think, by Rich Laverty. We'll get the sort of results prediction in and goal scorers. So I'll start with you, Hannah. We know it's not going to be 11-1, but I don't know. Just have a guess. Results or goal scorer or goal scorers.
I mean, anyone who knows me or watches my show always gives me a hard time because I don't do predictions. Because I'm always like, if I make a prediction
So I've just put
and
you on the spot
lose, this is one of those games that I don't want to predict for because I'm like, I honestly don't even know because I'm going to go in too confident. And then if I go in realistic versus if I give you a prediction, I'm going to say, but if I say Leicester are going to win, then I know everyone watching is going to come, and this is going to be
fair, it's
flooded with
fine because
comments.
they'll probably expect you to say that. Vic says 4-1.
Okay, now that I see that, I'm not holding back. So I'm going to go 2-1 for us.
By half time, that's worse.
4-1 by halftime. Jeez.
Ouch.
I like that confidence, though. I respect that, but I don't know. I think Kersey will keep him out. I hope our backline should too. I hope. Why aren't we talking about how Gareth has a Ashley Pumpter shirt behind him? Talk about our amazing.
Put me under the bus.
Clearly, we have good enough players.
We've got that one there as well.
Dear me.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the comments on that one because
under the bus. 2 Leicester fans, the United fan. Here we go.
Nah, all good. I appreciate it. Yeah, 2 Leicester fans and a United fan.
Oh, yeah. Oh, there's
Look
Robert.
at the stick now. It's coming through, Gareth.
I was like, I got to set him up somehow.
Absolutely. No, I agree. We wind each other up weekly, us two, and just, between us, Robert, and everybody else, we do. Gareth will have half it. Oh, no. Moving on. Anthony says 3-1. I'd gone with 3-1 as well, so I'm going to put that out there. I think, I'm going to back Ella Toon again. There's just something about her this season. I think for me, she's been our best player, so I'm going to back Tooney. I think not for a hat-trick, but at least a couple of Nat says hat-trick. I'm going to say Tooney 2 goals, and I think I'm back Leah for 1 as well. Leah always seems to enjoy herself. But Gareth, I'm going to sort of come to you. Results prediction and goal scorers.
Yeah, I'm going to say 2-1 United. And I think I'm going to be specific. I reckon we'll take the lead. And then I reckon we'll take the lead, and our 2 goal scorers will be Leah and Tooney. But I think Hannah Kane will equalise at some point. I think she'll find some space in behind the fullback, cut in and just peach. But that's what I reckon, 2-1. But I think it'll be close.
Yeah, absolutely. Touching on Hannah Kane, I'm going to come to you, Hannah, and sort of let you talk about her. Obviously, very bad injury. She came to Leicester, didn't start the season until, I think, was it the Blackburn game in December?
Yep.
And then, from what we've seen from sort of when she came back to May, she's just been absolutely incredible for sort of, for the team and you guys in general.
Yeah, she honestly, like I always say this, she does not play like she had an injury that bad. Like watching her play, you're like, I would have never expected her to have been out for so long. And I know that she's like incredibly thankful because she said it in interviews before that like Jonathan's giving her this chance. And she's just been amazing. And of course, she kind of stepped in a bit more once Flint was out. She was out for a bit. And so I know a bunch of us were kind of wary, like, oh, like that's our golden boot contender gone for a bit. And then Hannah Kane just stepped right in and she's always there. She's either providing or she's scoring. And the goals that she scores to are ridiculous sometimes. So
That
I'm
second
so
goal
happy we have her.
at the King Power, second goal at the King Power was insane. Like,
Yeah.
picks up inside their own half, brings it all the way forward, squares it to the Shantae, and then scores the header at the back post. I think I've watched it about 50 times. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, it was pleasing to see though, because to be fair, I followed Hannah right when she was at sort of Sheffield FC, so years back when she was like, I think about 18, 19, and sort of similar to Natasha as well, because obviously they were both, you know, at Sheffield, and then Natasha went to Fylde, and John here says, forgot, Tasha Flint, 25-yard screamer for United to win. Do you know what? It might happen. It's likely going to happen because Tasha
That's all
Flint's
she
no long
scores.
range goal.
She doesn't do tap-ins.
I genuinely don't think I've seen a tap-in, and I saw her at Blackburn, and I think she finished the season on like 42 goals in the third tier. It was ridiculous. And
That's
I still
ridiculous.
didn't recall then one tap-in. But yeah, pleasing to see, sort of going back to Hannah Kane, you know, really good to see that she's back from that injury, because I think sort of at Everton, she was never given a fair chance. And obviously she was involved in the England youth setups as well. So next year for me is going to be, I'm sure for you guys as well, is going to be interesting to see, you know, how she does in the WSL. Hannah, I'm going to stick with you. Who should we be wary of in terms of threats at Leicester? Obviously, we've mentioned Tasha Flint and Hannah Kane, but is there anybody else for you that maybe sticks out that you think, yeah, I back this person to either win their 1v1 battles or causes a lot of issues?
I was waiting to whip this card out. Charlie Devlin, 100%. She's honestly, watching her all season, she's probably been one of, if not my favorite player to watch. Her footwork is amazing. She's so incredibly technical. She's helping keep things out. She's helping push things forward. She just does everything, like everywhere. And of course, she scored the first goal of us this season, and I love watching her. And now she's going to be back against you guys. So I'm curious as to how that's going to go, because I always wonder, like, you see players going up against their former clubs. Is it going to be, are they going to hold back, or are they going to go all out? Or are they just going to stay the same? So I'm looking forward to it, though, because now I kind of just get to, like, wave that, like, look what we have now.
Do you know what? I think I'll not go into it too much, but basically a conversation me and Charlie had, put it this way, I don't think she'll be holding back. She'll be going all out. And she literally, her words to me were, you know, I want to score a goal. And we've got this little, I don't know, I shouldn't call it a joke because it's not as serious, but this little thing. She's got a celebration planned. She tells me if she does score, that will, I don't know what's the word, provoke or maybe wind up the manager. So I'm not,
Even better.
It's not quite a Libby Smith, but yeah. So
I think it's worse than
that was
Libby
the
Smith.
conversation we had after the draw. Go on, Gareth.
I think it's worse than Libby Smith. If she does that celebration, I'll die. It'll just be so funny.
Yeah, but I think
more excited.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. I can just see it now because the draw got made, and obviously it was like, you know, her coming back, and we knew obviously that you guys would probably likely beat Liverpool, and then here we go. Vic says, yeah, and Ebony's like, I can see it happening. I really can, and this is why I said to her, I was like, oh, look at the draw. Because obviously we had Burnley, like I say, you had Liverpool, and it was one of those where it was like, you know, we're probably likely to face each other. And the first thing she said was, oh, I'm desperate to score. I want to score. So I think she knows, you know, 100%. Obviously, she still keeps in contact with some of our players, but in terms of her loyalties now, 100%, you know, she may support Man United, but her loyalties are massively with Leicester. Gareth, do you just want to touch a little bit more on Charlie? Obviously, you can do it from both points of views if you want, from United and Leicester.
Yeah, I think she didn't get many opportunities kind of to start in the Championship season, but whenever she came off the bench, she got involved, goals and assists whenever she kind of was able to get some decent minutes in. And then she went to Charlton, which wasn't great. Charlton weren't particularly well run last season. They're going pro next year, so hopefully things will get better. But I think we were both glad when she signed for Leicester. It cut your journey in half. I remember when that FA Cup draw came out and we were playing City and they moved that game to the Friday night or something, or to the Saturday. We were like, okay, well, Burnley tomorrow then. It's great to see her kind of coming on and sort of improving still. 2 assists the other week. The first 2 goals, she assisted both of them. So, I think she'll definitely cause problems. And, I think the whole of that front 4 will, and she links up well with everybody. If she needs to drop deeper, she'll drop deeper. But, like Hannah said, she'll get things moving forward, but also drop back if she needs to. Been a really good player, and even over the last year and a half has improved even more. So she can definitely cause us threats. So just hopefully not too many.
It's coming now, don't you? We've had it, like Vic said before, we've had it with Ebony and other players, former players that have scored past us. But I think, like you said, Gareth, you've both sort of talked very well on Charlie, and I think it's pleasing to see, one, that she's, playing with a smile on her face, she's got the confidence and she's happy, and 2, that she gets a shot at WSL. Because I think when we released her, not only was I just like absolutely gutted, but it was like, she wasn't given a chance. And like you said, Gareth, she came and played in games for us and she scored or she assisted. And yet apparently it still wasn't enough. Still a fan favourite as well, looking at comments. And I know every time on Twitter, there's a lot of United fans sort of look out for, how well she's doing. But for her to be playing WSL, massively deserves it. And I absolutely delighted. Gareth said she'll get sent off. Don't say that, Gareth.
Whoa.
Bad memories of the last time she got sent off.
Me? That's Anthony, not me.
Sorry, Anthony. Did I say Gareth? Oh, my mistake. Yeah, no, I don't think she'll get sent off, Anthony. That was a one-off with Charlton. But no, absolutely, like I said, I think it's going to be a midfield battle for me. I think whoever wins the midfield battle out of the 2 teams can, go on and win the game. I know, Hannah, you talked about Remy. And I think when your club tweeted player of the season, for me, it was her straight away. I think from what I'd seen this year, typifies just Remy, leader, everywhere on the pitch, vocal, always gives 100%. Do you want to sort of talk on her and obviously Sophie Barker as well? Because I know they've both sort of been captain and the impact they've had on your midfield this season.
Yeah, Remy's absolutely had such a huge impact, because I had the chance of interviewing her during the trophy lift on our show, and I made sure to say, like, it shows how much of a leader you are. And she's basically just always said, like, she's here for the club. She's here to help out. She's from Leicester, so to help push everything forwards, it's obviously super great. Yeah, Sophie Barker as well. What a captain, what a player. And of course, like, those 2, I remember, I don't know if it was Kirsty Lavelle or who it was that tweeted basically saying, like, you're too old now. This is your last season. And they were both like, what? So, yeah. And Sammy T, oh my God, she's amazing. I feel like every time on our show, if it's not like a goal scorer that's my player of the match, I'm like Tierney. If it's not Devlin, it's Tierney. So we just have so many great players. Yeah, I love that your guys' fans are naming all of our good players now, because you just talked about how great yours are and basically named your starting 11. I was like, oh, and now you guys are naming ours. I was like, oh yeah, not so. But yeah, speaking about Remy, when we talked to Ashley Plumter, we had chatted with her right after. Oh my goodness, I don't remember which game it was, who it was against, but Ashley was in the midfield instead as Remy's replacement, because Remy was injured after the Durham game. And we spoke with Ashley and we were like, what was it like there? And she's like, I was horrendous. Like, I was not, like, I was struggling. And she said, Remy took me at halftime and was like, you need to stop running so much. Like, just slow down a bit. She's like, Remy guided me so much in her position, and she's just such an amazing leader. So she's definitely crucial. When I saw her go down for injury in the Durham game, I was like holding back the tears. I was like, this is not good.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, both of them, I know Natalie says, Yeah, we're at the Sheffield United Player of the Year dinner, and it was her. She came over to our table asking us. She thought because we were Man United fans, we were rich. That was a wild accusation. But no, I think, like you say, we've covered sort of games, myself and Gareth of Leicester, and been lucky enough to sort of go down there and do some media work. And like you say, I think it was the Coventry game that where Ashley was in midfield. Might be wrong on that one.
It must have been, yeah. It was whoever we had after Durham, and I think it was Coventry. Yeah,
I think it was. And like you say, you can hear. I think you can feel the impact by some of those tackles. You literally just hear a noise, and it's like off you go. And I think we talked about, obviously, in the build up to this, myself and Gareth and a few other fans. Remy and Sophie Barker against whoever's in our midfield, whether it's Gronan, Toon, or Zellum, is going to be a very interesting battle. And I think for me, that's probably what's going to swing it, because you've got forwards that are capable of scoring. We've got a couple as well, so it's going to be very, very interesting in terms of sort of that midfield battle. And I think it's one that everyone's massively looking forward to. Just before we touch on sort of your season as a whole and then ours, then I'm going to ask you this, Hannah: does the 2-week break from the Charlton game maybe worry you? Obviously, inactivity, and last time I think, was there an international break, and obviously then there was the Lewis defeat. And I think, after the game, sort of players and the manager came out and said, we maybe not at our best and a little bit rusty. Do you think then, having finished, your season a week before us, that maybe it could be one of them where it takes the team a little bit to sort of get up to speed on Sunday? Or are you fully confident that Jonathan's, got them sort of fired up for it, and they've hopefully practiced in training, maybe game scenarios and things like that?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the Lewis game after I finally forgot about it.
Sorry.
I'm not too worried, because if you look at the league and Leicester, so many of our games were postponed to the point that we had not played, I think it was 7 weeks straight. So, and I had spoken to Jonathan in that period, and he came onto the show, and I was like, how is that going? Like, obviously we were worried as fans, like, don't want to like kind of barge in on your plans, but what are you guys doing? Because we're all freaking out. So I think the Lewis game, it was shocking, to say the least. Like Jonathan said, he was like, it was just one of those days. Like, we're not sure what it was, but after that 7-week break, like, we came back and things just seemed fine. And I know that the players are training and stuff, because I see the pictures and everything, and obviously Beaver Drive is such a huge facility, and they're able to use it whenever they want. And yeah, and we spoke to our general manager, Jade Morgan, as well. And she was basically like, we have so many plans and we put so much focus onto everything. Like, we ensure we're on top of everything and everything's going smoothly. So I trust him. I don't want to get too confident, but I'm not worried.
Yeah, absolutely. Gareth, going to obviously come to, we'll start with our season first, sort of thoughts on that, and then obviously we can sort of move on to Leicester season. But in terms of our season as a whole, then I think for me, I've come out and said probably numerous times, similar to the manager, I did call it a failure and took some stick for that. But what are your thoughts on our sort of season so far? And obviously we're coming to the very, very last game now of this season.
I think if sort of in August you said we're going to be a point off Arsenal and we're going to fight for the Champions League all the way through the season, I'd have been okay with it. I think I'd have probably, I wouldn't have taken it, but I would have been all right with it. But seeing where we were at Christmas, and then coming back off that Christmas break, and then just playing, we were not good for a couple of months after Christmas. And, you see the title drift away, and you think after that defeat to Chelsea, well, that's it. That's probably done now. But let's go and get the top three. And we had a comfortable gap to Arsenal, and then that just got gradually less and less and less. And then it kind of got to the point where you're like, well, we've lost the top three now. So I think it's disappointing. It sounds so cliche, but it was a season of two halves. We did close the gap to the top three. We closed the gap to Arsenal. I think we've now got a top two, and then Arsenal United. I think you've added an extra tier really. I think Chelsea and City are in a league of their own at the moment. So the first half of the season was great. Confidence was high. I think Casey was trying to keep everyone's feet on the ground, but everyone was sort of renewing passports and checking flights and all that kind of stuff. And then it kind of all went wrong after Christmas. and something else happened over Christmas as well, which probably didn't have a great impact on the squad. So, yeah, the Conti Cup obviously disappointing. Like, you never want to lose against Liverpool ever.
Can't relate.
And we did.
Yeah, I was going to say easy for you because you 3 times as well.
Yep.
Yeah. I was going to mention it earlier, but Hannah got there first. You never want to lose against Liverpool. I remember, I was teaching while we were playing that game, and I was trying to keep up with the score. And at one point, I was like, you know what? I'm glad that I've got a lesson to teach here, because I can just ignore that and I'll check it afterwards, because it's just going to make me irritated. But things have picked up recently. 4th, it's not bad. We have progressed, but when the title is there and the Champions League is there, and you're thinking about your holidays and your passports, and we were saying, well, I hope they fall during half term, so we can go for half term, and then that gets taken away against an Arsenal squad which isn't particularly deep. They don't have an awful lot of players. You were winding Arsenal fans up relentlessly at the start of the season, and it's kind of slipped away. So overall, not a bad season, but when you consider where we were in December, it's difficult to look back and think what could have been.
Yeah, I'm just going to quickly get your thoughts, Hannah. I don't know if you've paid too much attention, but were you maybe surprised, obviously similar to Gareth, that we started off so well and it kind of ended up as a season of 2 halves where, like you said, January we were a top. I'm winding up Arsenal fans in my case. And now it's come back to sort of bite us and we've dropped off. Were you maybe surprised looking at that from the outside then?
Yeah, I guess I was more surprised that you guys were doing so well starting off, because you guys still seem so new, And when I saw that you guys were doing so well, I was like, okay, look at them go. But then I saw how many fans of other clubs were upset by it. I was like, okay. But it definitely surprised me. And then you guys just, like you said, just kind of fell off. And that's where I was like, because following Arsenal, I don't know if there's Arsenal fans watching, but they have not been what they usually are this season by any means. And I was just shocked at some of their results. So then to see that you guys kind of dropped below them, I was like, oh, didn't see that coming. But I think a lot of it also has to do with you lost Tobin Heath. That was a huge blow, I believe. He just rolled his eyes.
Massive. Huge.
Yeah. It was definitely surprising that you guys have definitely fallen off that much, but I don't want to doubt you guys for next season by any means. Next season's so unpredictable now. I don't even know how the table's going to end up.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like Gareth said, it's not quite been what we'd expect sort of as fans. And I know, some in the comments have sort of talked about progression. I know, Gareth, you said we closed the gap on Arsenal, but I think having sort of like you said, Hannah, led for so long and we didn't even expect to as fans. I think we'd all said, top 3 was the aim and we can get Champions League. And then, like Gareth said, we got a little bit excited, started renewing passports for Champions League, and then it didn't happen. But I'm going to move on to Leicester, and I know Natalie's asking this, so I'll let you answer this, Hannah. Where do you think Leicester will be next year? Do you think you'll follow in our footsteps, Villa or Spurs? And I know you don't like predicting too many things, but maybe just a rough idea of maybe positions, maybe if there's a few sort of maybe 5th to 7th or something like that, or higher, because I know Jonathan's talked about sort of 5th, hasn't he, and getting Champions League in sort of the next 3-4 years or so.
Yeah, I'm okay with being asked about the predictions. I'm more hurt that we were in the same sentence as Villa. that kind of hurt me.
I know. Natalie,
it could be worse. It could be Birmingham.
I don't see us ending up like Villa. Spurs, I don't ever want to be compared to Spurs.
That's an insult as well.
Yeah. I saw the Spurs after because it's below, and I was like, oh, that's a double blow. Natalie, you seem great. I appreciate your comments, but that one hurt. I can definitely see us going mid-table, like Jonathan said. And I saw Her Football Hub, they put out asking people what they thought the prediction for the table would be next season, and so many people were putting us mid-table. I was super confident, but now Birmingham City is really throwing me off because we saw their chairman step down. So now it's they're either gonna we don't know if they're gonna end up having to shut down, or we're gonna see like some billionaire investment and then they shoot right up. So I'm like, I have no idea what's gonna happen at this point, but I can see us going mid-table. And like you said, Jonathan said he's wanting to go for 5th, and he also said, give me 5 years. And if you look at our men's side, that's what Vichai said. He said, I believe it was give me 3 years or give me 5 years. I always get the two mixed up now. And I'm not saying I want to pull a 15-16, but of course with our women's team, I want to pull a 15-16, but avoid the great escape part and just come up and win the league. But obviously that's not going to happen next season. But I think I'm going to say I can see us finishing in 5th. It really depends on transfers, I think, like not for us, but for other clubs. Who's in and out. Like we saw Jill Roord leaving Arsenal, which surprised me because I thought she was a great player. So I think a lot will have to do with that as well, but we'll see, and see if any more Americans, Kristen Press leaves.
I noticed that actually. I noticed a few Leicester fans saying, oh, well, Kristen Press might leave and would you fancy Leicester? And you know what? I think I'd be as shocked as you guys if next season she was, in a Leicester shirt. But you know, Natalie's now changed the tune. She's now backtracked. 6th. I think for me, and I know Gareth, you'd said similar, we sort of said 5th and 6th, didn't we? We said sort of competing with Everton and Reading, and knowing that, you know, how good your home form can be and how much, you know, it is of importance. And like you say as well, recruitment is going to play a massive part. You know, it'd be interesting to see whether Jonathan brings in maybe 2 or 3, or whether he does kind of what a Villa did, where they brought in 10 or 11. I think personally, I don't think there'll be that many incomings. I wouldn't say from, you know, looking at it from the outside that you need too many players. I know Jonathan was itching before for us to get onto transfer talks. We'll cover a little bit on that. But I think for me, you know, and I know, again, Jonathan said in interviews, you know, you're not just there to make up numbers, you're there to compete. And, you know, for me, I genuinely do believe, having, like I say, seen you guys live more than my own team this season, from what I've seen, you know, and like you touched on earlier, you know, you spoke to Jade on one of your shows, and she's, you know, got so many big plans for the club in terms of on and off the field. And I think next year, you know, it's going to be interesting because obviously we've got the Sky deal coming in place as well. So there's more sort of, you know, globally eyes watching and things like that. But Gareth, do you just want to sort of summarise and finish off with, you know, where you think Leicester will finish next season?
Yeah, first of all, I cannot wait for you to complain about Sky for the next 3 years, because that's going to happen. No, I think 6th as well. I think this doesn't happen very often, but I agree with Nat. I think Everton will be 5th again. I think Leicester then 6th. I think Reading will drop away. You know, Reading have lost Farah. They've lost Angarad as well. So that's 2 big players need to replace. They had Jesh Fishlock for the first half of the season, who's gone as well. So there's some big names that Reading need to replace before they even start to strengthen. So I think that will sort of see Reading take a step back. I think Leicester's squad now is better than Birmingham's. It's better than Villa's. It's better than West Ham's. I think it's probably at the moment on a par with Spurs, but with a few additions, it can easily kind of move above them, Brighton, Reading. So yeah, I think 6th, fighting with the Brightons and Readings, and you know, I think Everton will probably be in that little bubble they're in at the moment, where they're nowhere near 4th, but pretty comfortable from 6th. It's going to be an exciting season.
Yeah, just to touch on that Sky comment, I know because I took a dislike to BT, not only for poor commentary and it being BT, but obviously I haven't got BT. So yeah, that was for anybody watching that doesn't get that. I've not got Sky either. But the thing was, Gareth, is that next year will be in grounds. My problem this year was that BT showed certain games for free and fans couldn't get in, and then decided, oh, well, actually, it's not possible now and we can't show it. So that was my little thing. But I think what would be nice next season as well is obviously if we can see more championship games in the FA Player. I think this year has been, again, difficult without fans, where there's been a few games on there, but it seemed, I mean, for me, I'm sick of seeing them. It seems to be all Liverpool. I'm convinced that Liverpool have been on the FA Player this year more times than any other team. So whilst we're bashing Liverpool, because we always love doing that on this show, you know, we may as well put that out there. But I think, you know, the Sky TV deal is absolutely fantastic. And hopefully, you know, the money can not just benefit WSL teams, but filter through. You know, it would be nice to see, obviously, championship teams, like I say, get some money, third tier, and obviously, really boost each league and hopefully one day expand the WSL. Going to move on to transfers then. It's got people, I know Natalie loves transfers and John's mentioned it. I don't know if you've heard, Hannah, there's been a couple of rumours about 2 ex-Man United players going to Leicester. Now, obviously, not sure if this is, concrete, but we'd heard or we'd been told, and I'd read Abby McManus and Jess Sigsworth to Leicester. So I don't know if you've heard that or you maybe know anything, you've got any thoughts on that, but do you want to just briefly maybe touch on that if you can?
I've been like offline for a couple of days now, so I haven't seen too much. I guess I've mostly just seen, I see a lot of us just being linked with like random people too, like to the point where everyone's just kind of throwing people out there. Like I keep seeing people saying like, oh, we're going to sign Ebony Sam. And I'm like, I don't think we are. I don't know why we would. And I see like people linking us to Babajide. I'm like, I don't know. I'm not sure. But yeah, I haven't kept up with too much. I mean, I'm not opposed to bringing any transfers in by any means, but like you guys said before, we have so much depth already. I'm not even sure where we would put people, but I definitely think in that midfield area, like talking about Remy and Sophie, obviously, like whichever one of our players is saying, like they've even said like their time's getting a bit closer. So we'll definitely look for people in that area, I think. But like looking at forwards, I'm not sure who we'd need. Maybe someone to kind of come in for PBG because I can see her injury being a reoccurring one. But other than that, like whoever we bring in, I'll be happy about it. I'll love it. But I know Jonathan has a philosophy of growing youth players at Leicester. So I see him bringing in more young players than like Christy Mewis, like I know a lot of our fans want, but I can see, honestly, anything can happen. And Jade told me that I'd be one of the first to know if they sign anyone, but apparently you guys know more than I do already, so I'm not sure at this point.
Hey, listen, we're not claiming to be in the know or anything. No, we're just things we'd read. But yeah,
I'm so out of the loop with news.
Yeah, I think it's always interesting, isn't it? It's literally the day after the season finishes and the transfer rumours go into overdrive. But I think, like you said, you've got a young squad. I think if anything, that's probably similar to our philosophy where, we like to bring through sort of youth players or younger players and, coach them. And I know sort of Casey's big on that. I think we've given a couple of debuts this year to some of ours. So, for me, it's what it's all about. But I think, if you get sort of that more experienced WSL players, I think back to our first season in the WSL, I think we had Abby McManus, we had Mary Earps, Jackie Gronin. So I think maybe you might see, a couple of additions with that sort of experience, whether that's forwards, defenders, or sort of midfield, as you touched on. Gareth, I know you talked about this, didn't you, yesterday? Do you want to just go over sort of what you were talking about in terms of transfers? And yeah, just discuss that.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing has been Leicester's back line this year. Obviously Ash is great at centre half, and Sam has done really well there as well. But I think she can play as a fullback as well. So just kind of adding a little bit more experience in terms of depth at the back. So I think the depth at the back comes from people like Leah and Grace Riglar, who are younger players. So adding someone like Abby into that would kind of be a really good player to add into the mix. I'd like to see players like Leah playing more next year. I think she adds something different than Sophie Howard. Both good players, but both sort of play slightly differently. So I think it's about finding that balance, isn't it, between bringing in players that are going to add something, but also not doing too much, because you see it in football all the time. People bring in too many players that don't gel particularly quickly, and then things go wrong. I think that's kind of why Villa struggled a bit this year, brought in a lot of players, and it took a while for it to click. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting summer, I think, for everybody. People mentioned it already in the comments about Arsenal. Loads of players leaving Arsenal. I think we need to wait and see what those retain lists are like, who's going to stay and who's going. Then you kind of get an idea of where the gaps are, and we can look to where teams are going to add in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to stick with you, Gareth. And in terms of from a Man United point of view, transfers, where do you think, or what can you see? Obviously, we talk about missing out on Champions League, potentially, hitting recruitment. We don't know if money's there, although Casey has come out and said she thinks it will be there based on conversations she's had. Where do you see us strengthening or needing to sort of strengthen in the summer?
I think we need a fullback. I think we need someone that can play with owner. I think Kirsty is Smith's a great player that can come on and manage games well. Her game management is great. But again, I think we need some depth there. I said on yesterday's show, I want 2 players for each position. So at the moment, I think we're going to be looking at players like both Heath and Press going. That means there's a couple of vacancies in the front line that we need to add to. I think the big thing for me this year is going to be we need to spend money. We can't just go looking for those players who are out of contract. We need to spend money and we need to kind of go after the players that fit. Where they come from is largely relevant. If they're good enough, they're good enough. I think some of our transfer policy over the last couple of years has been hit and miss. I think there's some players we can point to and say they've been fantastic successes. I think there's been some that we can point to and say they've been disappointing. Some of them, have gone already. So yeah, I think it's about finding those players that fit what we want to do, that fit the gaps that arise. And again, like I said before, I think it's a little bit early to start sort of going a bit too crazy on transfers. I know Nat loves it. I know Victor's loving it as well. But yeah, I think I'm a bit more boring when it comes to transfers. I want to wait and see what that retain list is like, see who's going, and then we get an idea then, don't we? But yeah, I think we've still got some players. I think Leicester coming back is going to be like a new signing up front. If we can get Fuso kind of fitter next year, we can really see what she's like. That could be like a new signing again. But yeah, I think we could do some competition in goal as well. I don't think we kind of have anyone that's there on Mary's shoulders. So yeah, it's going to be a long summer. I think we're all sort of thinking, let's just get September here so we can get back into a ground. I will do Friday night at LSV, and then on Saturday I'll happily mooch down to Leicester, not bothered. The Leah Williams in the United shirt mock-up is hilarious. I mean, if we sign Leah, that would be great. I just can't see it happening. She's Arsenal through and through. And while they've got Champions League, I just can't see it going anywhere. As much as I would love it, I just, you see on her Instagram all the time pictures of her as like a kid in an Arsenal shirt. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens and go from there.
Yeah, I think like you say, Natalie's already made a shopping list probably in January. I think she made that. Like you say, I think in terms of us now, like you say, I think once we know the outgoings, it then becomes a little bit easier. Hannah, do you think there may be potentially any outgoings at Leicester? Would you see maybe 1 or 2 leaving, or do you think he's going to try and keep the squad? Because I think back to our team, and I think we let 4 go in our first season from that championship winning side. But do you think Jonathan will stick with the majority of your squad, or do you think you'll see maybe a few changes?
I think that he will definitely keep the majority of the squad. I don't see why he'd want to transfer anyone out, but I'm not a tactics person. I'm not a manager. I'm not an expert. But I can see people going out on loan again. Of course, we had some players who were out on loan previously. So maybe that, and then just give them a little more playing time since they maybe haven't had enough at Leicester. But otherwise, I don't really see him transferring anyone out unless it was requested by the player, pretty much, so it's a tough one because I've definitely thought of it. People have definitely asked me, but I can't think of any off the top of my head. Like, I think of all season we had Little John leave, and that's all I can remember right now. If there were more, please correct me, but I don't remember any other.
Yeah, Annabelle.
Oh, yes. That's another one.
Sorry,
Time has flown so much. Yeah, she went over to Blackburn, so that was another one. Yeah, thank you for reminding me. I was like, I know there's another one, but why can't I remember? So I think I remember the Little John because it was during all that hectic Christmas stuff. So, but yeah, I don't see him really transferring anyone out. I feel bad for forgetting about Annabelle. I'm so sorry. But It's so long ago.
Just have to hope she doesn't watch this, and we'll not mention it. It's fine.
No, I'm still getting over like everything in the past 2 weeks. So
it's been a long season. It's okay. We can make allowances. And obviously, we haven't been there, so that's another excuse. Cautious of times, we've got a few minutes left. So what we'll do is we'll just do a quick sort of social media roundup where people can find you, and obviously we'll cover obviously your YouTube show, Hannah, and obviously ours as well. So go on, Gareth, we'll start with you. Social shout out for you.
Yeah, it hasn't changed since yesterday. It's on the screen for Twitter at GT18_. Instagram, if you fancy it, is GTownsend18, because someone who hasn't posted since 2014 has the GT18 one.
Yeah, and you can find me obviously on screen as well, Twitter at MattCrane15. I know we keep saying this as well every week. We're still waiting for this YouTube as well. Going to blame Ben that runs the whole channel for that, because he's just been so busy that we've not actually got the YouTube fully up and running yet. But like I say, bear with us, and we will be obviously fully over on YouTube and a couple of Twitter lives. We've got All for United at All for United, and we've got the women's side as well at All for United WFC. Hannah, do you want to shout out obviously your own personal Twitter, and then obviously the Leicester City ones as well?
Yeah, so you can find my personal Twitter at HannahSkiW, like on the screen. And then the Twitter page for our women's show is, it has so many underscores, but it's like Beyond the 90 LCFC Women. So you'll be able to find it. And then the YouTube is Beyond the 90 LCFC, where we have both coverage of our men's and women's teams. So you can find everything there.
Brilliant. And we've also got the Leicester City supporters page as well, because I know Joe will kill me if I don't shout that out as well.
He's going to kill me for forgetting too. We're partnered with them.
Yeah,
I'm forgetting everything today.
Yeah, so obviously, yeah, like you mentioned, you are in the partnership with them, but obviously give them a follow as well. I know I chat to Joe, I've chatted a few times this season, and there's some great stuff happening there. I think they just launched the memberships. I think I saw the other day. So memberships as well for those of you that are tuned in, that Leicester fans. Say again.
Have you signed up?
Have I signed up? No. Do you know what? I've been busy. I will do. I'll make a promise there. But
he didn't even try to lie or cover.
We'll probably get stick for that as well, Gareth. But never mind. But no, listen. Memberships are important. I know we talk about that in sort of Barmy Army, but the more the merrier. So yeah, give the Leicester City, like I say, supporters club as well as Beyond the 90 LCWFC a follow. We will also tweet out the links as well, just so everybody can find them. And yeah, obviously, like I say, thanks again to everybody for tuning in. Thank you as well for Hannah for joining us, and also to Gareth as always. And we are back on Friday. John Foster has a show, and we are sort of discussing the end of season and rounding that up. So cheers, guys, and thank you very much.